Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of our Professional Perspective series of What Cause Inspires You. I'm your host, Alisha Gupta, and today I have with me Nehal Banik. What Cause Inspires You is a podcast founded for students ages 13 to 21 to be able to share the service they're doing in their communities. We recently launched our Professional Perspective series in order for experts in their field to give insight to our youth about how to make a stronger impact and accelerate social justice movements. Nehal incorporates his experiences with filmmaking and his time spent in the dance community to produce short conceptual videos and music videos to better help creative artists in the South Asian community. By day, Nehal studies psychobiology at UCLA and works as an undergraduate research in the Department of Neurobiology. And by night, he produces content with other creative artists and friends while hoping to apply to medical school. Nehal dabbles in acting in short films, shows, and skits on YouTube and can be found in many popular Bollywood Fusion dance videos on YouTube, such as BFunk. Nehal hopes to be a beacon of inspiration and help others who share the same passion as him to lead a professional life filled with creativity. He hopes to one day work as a doctor by day and a dance professionally during the night, all while paving way for the members of the new generation to grow as artists. This podcast series will be available on Spotify and YouTube under Humanity Rising Voices. Nehal, we're super thrilled to have you with us today. We're ready to begin whenever you are.
Thank you. I'm actually really excited to be on here and share my voice and experience. So
awesome. Let's get to it then. Why don't we get started with how you were able to balance your creative lifestyle and being a student at UCLA?
Yeah, so that is actually one of the biggest questions that I get asked very consistently. I think having a proper sense of time management is the one thing I like to say. Knowing how to balance everything that you're doing in your day. So like for me personally, like I would balance classwork in between classes and then run to lectures. And then afterwards I would run back and go have meetings with people for videos and talk about projects and then run to practice and stuff like that. So I think time management is probably the most efficient means of me organizing everything in my life because, as you mentioned, I'm a very busy person. So I think if I didn't manage my time properly, I don't think any of this would have been possible. So
yeah, definitely. And I can kind of attest to that. I've just started college and there's already so much I'm doing and I'm only a freshman. So I can only imagine with the amount of projects you took upon yourself, as well as being pre-med at UCLA, how much time management would play a role into that. Kind of switching gears here, you are more on the creative side as well as being academically strong. And for the South Asian community, that's kind of a point of, I would say, debate, where it's not always welcomed in the South Asian community to be an aspiring dancer or really aspiring actor. So how did you explain to your community and your parents your dance and creative artist journey, and how do they accept and understand that lifestyle?
So at first, I'll give a very short summation of my last couple of years dealing with my parents. But at first, they actually were not supportive of me doing dance. Typical brown parents. I was going to UCLA pre-med. They were like, "Why are you dancing? You could be, working or studying more, and taking more classes." And I kind of took it on my way to show them and my community that I can do both, that I can be pre-med and I can do acting on the side. I can dance professionally if I want to. I think over the last year or two, I think my parents started noticing like, yeah, like he's still keeping up at school and like internships and work, but he's still doing what he like loves to do, right? I actually had a conversation with my dad a couple of days ago, and he came into my room and he's like, "What are you working on?" And I'm like, "It's like narrow homework. Like, what do you want?" And he's like, "You ever thought about going into acting?" And I'm like, "Buddy, it took you 2 years for us to have this conversation." So I understand what it's like having parents who may not be understanding or supportive of pursuing a creative career if it's permanently or on the side. But I think just helping our parents and community alone understand what that means instead of just throwing it at them, I think that's very integral. Because like I remember telling my parents, I was like, yeah, like I'm kind of a professional dancer now. And they're like, what? You're dropping out of UCLA? Like, what do you mean professional dancer? And I'm like, I mean, like, yeah, like, on the weekends I'll be going to like performances and touring or whatever, but I'm still at school. And they're like, okay, well, as long as it doesn't mess with school. And yeah, I think now they're much more chill, but yeah, they were definitely not open to it at the beginning.
That's good though that you're able to kind of get your parents to turn around by instances of showing them that it's possible. You obviously mentioned that time management plays a really big part of it, and you were able to kind of prove to your community and to your parents by balancing with great time management. But on the flip side of that, we see in today's society increasingly that it's not only about STEM, right? We're focusing on more
Mhm.
STEAM, we're focusing on integrating art, and people are recognizing that art does play a significant amount on someone's development, right? So
Mhm.
how do you feel in terms of social justice and the South Asian community and the cultural ideals associated with careers in content and media?
So I think South Asian creatives in the media industry are very, very underrepresented or underrepresented. I'm a big advocate of helping South Asian artists develop a footing in media, whether it be dance, arts, filmmaking, whatever it is, right? That's actually a big project that I'm working on now with BuzzFeed, is to create some sort of program to incorporate more South Asian artists. Like for me personally, for this program that I was part of this last summer, the main thing that I kept asking, I was like, yeah, but like, why am I the only South Asian or Asian person on this team of interns? Like, why are we not represented properly? Like, in my opinion, a lot of people that I've worked with in the media industry are very shocked to see that, hey, like you can dance. Like, shouldn't you be like studying for med school or be an engineer or something? Like,
Mhm.
I'm a very big advocate for that because I feel like, especially in our generation now, Generation Z, there's a lot more emphasis on pursuing creativity, and there's a lot more means to pursue creativity and whatever that may be, like in media or content creation, whatever it is, right? If you asked our parents 20 years ago, like if they wanted to go into acting, they'd be like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Obviously things were different back then, but now I think with the increasing amount of artists that there are, especially in our community, if you look at, you know, DDN or just people, South Asian artists in general, there are so many talented people that are making it in the industry that are paving way for new artists to come in the next generation. And I think that's very, very powerful. And that's something I wish to hopefully focus on in the next couple of years. If I'm in med school or whatever, I still want to be able to help artists and creatives, develop their passion. And that's something that sucks. I've talked to a lot of people, your age. Sounds so fucking weird coming out of my mouth. Sorry, pardon my language. People who are freshmen, right?
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of people who reached out to me, and they were like, "Yeah, like I wanted to go into acting, but I had to give it up because I had to focus in high school and take EPs and SATs and stuff."
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, that's a very good thing to focus on, but you can put effort and energy into dancing or acting or singing. You don't have to quit. Um, and I think that's also a very common issue with our community. It's that a lot of us have that creative outlet and that, I like to say it's like an itch. We have that creative itch inside of us to produce content or just to pursue something like that, but we don't because of these pressures faced or put onto us by society and our community alone. And I think that's something that needs to change and will hopefully change with our generation. So by the time when we have kids, they'll be more open to, pursuing dance. Like, it doesn't have to feel stigmatized that, oh, like this is just a hobby I do on the weekends. Like, no, like this could be something you can do daily. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I think
I
you're
don't know. I feel like I just spewed a bunch
no,
of random bumbo
you
jumbo,
put it
but
like perfectly in words. Especially what you said about people my age, right? People years younger than you, but just entering college. during high school,
Hmm.
I danced almost 12 hours a week, and I was in the
Amazing.
studio most weekends. And I get so many comments from people like, "Why are you spending so much time on something that's not going to count towards your college applications?" And for me, it wasn't for the college application, like for me, that
Uh-huh.
was my outlet. That was me doing something and developing a part of myself that I'm really still passionate about and do want to pursue in
Hmm.
the future, similar to you. But oftentimes when people say this, it makes me question. It's like, why did I spend
Hmm.
all of that time on something that college admission people don't even care about? Like
Yeah.
maybe I should have done more APs. Would that have gotten me farther in life? Things like that, obviously, with
Hmm.
society's comments are going to get into your head. So
Hmm.
we definitely need more people like you, Nehal, that are saying these things and getting it into youth society's head that it's okay to kind of pursue your creative side of yourself. So what inspires you, I guess, most to keep working towards this betterment of community and spreading your message?
So this is actually another question a lot of people ask me. Because a lot of people, when I talk to them, they're like, how are you still doing all these projects that you work on? You know? And the one thing that I like to say is that I don't produce content. I don't do anything for the clout. I could care less about people knowing who I am. For me, the one thing that inspires me is being able to produce something and help pave way for another artist, and to just hear and like from them personally, from them to say like, hey, like, like I really valued what you have to say, and it helped me want to pursue a creative outlet, right? I could care less about, how many followers I have on Instagram or views or whatever, how many people know me. I don't care about any of that. For me, if I can help someone get better at dancing, or help someone with their self tapes, or just if someone has a question about photography, like I don't care what I have going on in my day. I will stop everything and help you. Like I think that's what inspires me. Like for me, like you mentioned, like you spend 12 hours a day in the dance studio, right? For you, it doesn't matter what anyone says about however many hours you put, whatever it means on college apps. Because for you, a lot of people, our generation, the next generation, don't realize is that creativity isn't something you just throw. You can use it to, help balance everything else in your life. Like for me, example, I work maybe 6, 7 hours a day for my job, and I'm just producing stuff, and then I have school, right? And then before I go to bed, I have 2 hours free from 10 to 12 p.m., and then I have to go to bed. So in those 2 hours, that's when I like to be creative, because for me, that's how I relieve stress, and that's how I manage everything in my life. That's a whole crazy mess up, but I think that's something that more people should start to realize is important, especially for mental health. You can have an amazing resume and look great on paper, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't follow something that's creative, it's like, what are you working so hard for, right?
Yeah.
Because similar to you, people that I knew in my community would be like, yeah, like, why are you dancing so much? Like, every day I see you're in a video or something, like, you should be focusing on school. And I'm like, I am, but like, this is what makes me happy, and I'm helping other people through it. And if I can do that, then that's what I'm going to do. Like, I could care less about what you have to say, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think we all have 24 hours in a day, right? We
Mm-hmm.
choose we choose to spend our spare time in that creative outlet versus maybe going on social media or
Mm-hmm.
whatever time sucks that other people do. And everyone has their own way of kind of coping with the stress, but I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that being creative should be ignored or kind of looped into that same category as a time suck, because it is
Mm-hmm.
developmental as well. But even taking it in a further aspect, when we're talking specifically about the South Asian community and their need to kind of work, and just keep that same routine, I think it's important to notice that anything doesn't have to be acting, doesn't have to be dancing, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be anything of the main arts, what we would call art, but anything that kind of is an outlet for a stress release will help one's child overall grow,
Mm-hmm.
and will help their mental health. So definitely this conversation was much needed, and hopefully to all of our listeners out there, go be creative and go explore something that you love to do and take that time for yourself. It's very important. So I think to just close it off, Nehal, what's one piece of advice you have for our listeners out there?
I mean, obviously, I'm an advocate for creativity and pursuing your dream and pushing against the boundaries of what our South Asian community likes to hold on us. I guess one thing that I have to say it's kind of like inspiring is there's 86,400 seconds in a day, right? We don't get that time back. So if you think about it like money, if someone gives you $86,000 every day and you can't renew that money every day, you're going to want to spend it, right? It's the same thing with the amount of time you have in a day. We don't get time back. So I guess one thing that I would say to our listeners is, I know especially nowadays with quarantine, it's definitely taking a toll on everyone's mental health and everything. But, just give yourself even rough math, I don't know, give yourself like 2,000 seconds a day, okay? To just be creative or listen to music, go for a walk, exercise, whatever it is, right? Because one thing that we don't place emphasis on in our community is the importance of mental health. And you can even separate that from creativity. It's something that I like to be an advocate for. I guess to whoever's listening, just take that time for yourself. Yeah, I'm gonna be super casual right now. Like, if I didn't give myself like an hour to just be me, I think I would lose my mind, honestly. Like, I'm a little cuckoo in the head already, but it'd be 10 times worse. So I guess to whoever's listening, the one piece of thing I would say is we have 24 hours, 86,000 seconds. Just give yourself 1 hour to just be yourself and do whatever makes you happy. Because we need that as human beings, and psychologically we need that. And coming from a neuroscience student, I can definitely tell you we need that. So please listen to my advice. And that's the one thing I would say, honestly.
Y'all, we literally have a doctor here telling you to go do something that you
Hopefully.
love. So I think that's a perfect note to end this interview on. But thank you so much, Nehal.
Yes, of course.
I hope all of our listeners out there gain something from this podcast. You can find more about Nehal's work on his Instagram at nehal.bnk. Unfortunately, that's all we have for today, but be sure to look out for more episodes on our professional perspectives on what cause inspires you. I'm your host, Alisha Gupta, and I hope you all continue changing the world.